Good morning. It's 11:30 on the 5th of July and the second session in this, our second all-day Self-Pub Festival, and we're talking about the nuts and bolts of publishing. So you'll see from the page, unless you're on YouTube, it'll be the panel before, that we've just been talking about editing for an hour. So now we've got an hour on cover design, illustrations, and book formatting. So in the last session, I started alphabetically. So this time I'm going to pick on Ryan and kind of work backwards, but anyone chip in. And Janet, bless her, last time was putting her hand up when she wanted to speak. So if there's a break, there's a natural break, feel free to add any comments. And anybody, we have a few people in the chat, which is lovely. Elizabeth is back. And then do ask questions in the chat, and we'll either have time at the end, or if it's relevant to a particular topic we're talking about, we'll include that. And all the authors, if you open the chat, there's the strip at the bottom, there's a chat option. If you click on that, any questions that are directed to you or that you can answer, then feel free to do so. So I'm going to start with Ryan. You have quite a few books published. I see you've got Peter James's at the back there, all lovely, colourful spines. Tell us about how you started with once you'd finished your first book, did you have a cover designer in mind? Do you do your own covers?
I do my own covers, but that's not the whole story. My daughter went to Coventry University and is a fine art graduate. So she's got a lot of experience of photography and graphic design. And why not use it if it's there? After all, I paid for it to go to university, so I might as well get something out of it. Aesthetically, I'm probably not the best of people. So when I see something, I have an immediate reaction to it, which is not necessarily what I want my reader to have. Emma's really good at saying, no, you're not telling that story. One of the examples that's easiest to show is that book there.
Wow. So that's striking. And I love the fact that you've got your name at the top.
Yeah.
Because how many of us have our name, and Andrea Woolhead has her name too small at the bottom. We've had the conversation about book covers with her.
Well, yeah.
And I think it would be nice to get to the point, and why don't we put our names at the top, because as Lee Child and every other traditional author generally.
Well, that's the marketing aspect. The point of having your name on the book at all is because you're the author. The point of having Lee Child's name on the book is because it sells books.
Yeah.
What I learned fairly early on, and I've got a GIF of it somewhere, or a JPEG of it somewhere, is that people's eyes are drawn to certain parts of the page immediately, which is why the guy is sitting in the middle in bright red.
Yes.
The railway tracks to the Severn Valley, that's a friend of mine. He was wearing a black hoodie, and I've done all the photography myself. So your eye's drawn immediately to that, then you will see that. Then you might well drift down to the bottom if there's anything at the bottom, but then you'll go to the top.
Right.
I'm not famous enough to want to plug the Ryan Stark angle.
Right.
I'm trying to sell books, so the cover is the most important.
Yeah.
But once I'd fixed on that, and that was done by research of what's out there on Amazon, on the internet, in bookshops. The number of people I've accosted in Waterstones and said, which book caught your eye first? And people have come back to me on the email and sent me examples of the ones that they like. Use it, why not? So all of them are the same. So that one there, that building's gone now, unfortunately, but I put the light in the window because it's a mystery book. It's a detective thriller. But the format of it is pretty much the same.
Yes. And that's another thing. If you have a series, so I have a series of these.
Yeah.
This is the only one in paperback at the moment. That's my Dog Detective. Those are all my books now. The main picture is the same. The dog changes depending on the theme of the story. And then obviously the title changes. But I have my name quite... I mean, it's not tiny, but it's not
I basically have a template. Again, there's bright light behind the BMW. You can just see the gun. So I have a template for it and just put another picture in the background, and then focus it all so that it looks good, and all of them the same. But the other series I've got, which is not a detective series, pretty much the same sort of design, but it now focuses on the Lee Child format, the shadowy guy running after something,
Yes.
because it's not what I want on the front cover. It's what you want to see on the front cover when you walk into the shop with your money in your pocket.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it does
Yeah.
say that the first one, to me, the first one, and the
Mhm.
colorings are darker. We have some more people in chat. Lovely to see you. That it does hint at the genre. So immediately when you've
Yes.
got the it's a very Lee Child color as well.
Yeah.
So you've
Yeah.
got the silhouette which he has, and the fact that you've got a helicopter that implies thriller to me.
Mhm.
So you're
Mhm.
doing what
And
it
that's
says
the
in
point.
the tin,
The
yeah.
guy on the railway line as well, to imply there's a mystery. There is actually a guy on a railway line in the book,
Mm.
but I was always taught don't necessarily have something on the front that's in the book. So
Okay,
it's
that's interesting.
fairly oblique.
Right.
Yeah.
We were,
And
I was just going to say that
sorry.
Damiano and Jackie, who's here today,
Mhm.
we were talking on Thursday about book covers, and I was saying I think it's Jojo Moyes. I probably remembered incorrectly, but her French cover had a dog on it,
Mhm.
and she said there's no dog in
Yeah.
it. There's no dog in the book, so I think it has to
Yeah.
do what it says on the tin. Um, so you're running a risk, I
Oh
think.
yes, you don't lie. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm.
No. Now,
But also, I
yeah.
do a lot of that stuff as well. So
Oh, yeah.
I like an image that's going to be striking on a bookmark or on a banner.
Yeah.
And so I
That,
try and focus on one specific thing.
yeah. That's a good test for size
Mm.
because if it
Yeah.
works on a bookmark, it's going to work on an Amazon screen.
Mm.
And now, Phil,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
right. Sci-fi, fancy. We can see
Yes.
your echoes. I think it's echoes is your
Oh, sorry. No,
first one.
I never get used to
Sorry.
which way the camera goes. So
Yeah.
hang on. There, that. I have.
Yeah.
I've got a copy here.
Okay.
That's probably easier to work with. So yes, a lot of you know what, a lot of the same things that the Ryan's just talked about were kind of in my mind. So my covers are all stock images. There's a company called Get Covers that I work with online. I think they're based in Ukraine,
They are.
but
Jackie
they are
uses them as well.
they are very good value. They do a package that it's basically one stock image and the text and stuff, but you can ask them to add in extra things and they'll give you a quote for extra images, and it's very, very reasonable. So all of my covers are that. And in terms of my thinking, do you know what? My name's at the top as well, and I didn't really question
Oh,
that.
good.
The first cover here, Echoes, it's the first in a series, and what I wanted was very much a something that kind of hit some genre sort of sort of tick some genre
Thanks.
boxes,
Yeah.
but also had that idea of being the first in the series. So you got sorry, I'm trying to angle it right. You got the main character
Mm.
facing into a new world. He's kind of going into this strange place. Which turns out that's actually Shanghai. I didn't realize that when I got the image. It just
Okay.
looked cool, and that was kind of that's the city that's in my head.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's a little Easter egg. But so I very much wanted that, and so I was looking at first in series covers of sci-fi books, some of which were time travel related, some of which were not, and tried to find the thing that kind of said to me, "Oh, this looks quite good." And I found one. I think it was an Adrian Tchaikovsky series where I was like, "Oh, that's good," but the background's not right. But then you kind of go, "Okay, so I want a shadow figure who's facing into something," and so that's where that came about.
Mm.
And then having done that, let's grab the others. I then wanted to make sure I kind of had an identity to the series. So there are certain things that so the sort of the main font and these kind of the sort of the I described it when I originally requested echoes. I said I want something that indicates kind of something echoing back through some sort of visualization of that. And so they came up with these sort of little bits that go around the edge, which are not so clear on them. If you go
They,
closer, you can.
are
They've kind
they
of got the
they
little
look a bit
effect there.
are they purple?
Yeah, kind of purpley, like almost sound wave shapes, and so they
Yeah,
carry
I like
through
that.
onto later books, and then
When you're showing it closer, you can see the colours because
yeah,
from the
yeah,
distance it
and the
looks a
color
bit
the
black and
colors
white.
change as you go through as well, and they
Oh
get
yes,
bright, and that's the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to give a
yeah.
sense of the series through the covers. So, book one, as I said, is very much about entry into this world. Book two is probably the bit where it's darkest, and so
Mhm.
that's very much that's a shadow. You can actually see there is a dead body on the floor there,
Oh
and
yeah,
a very mysterious graffiti of an elephant just on the wall here.
wow.
So it's sort of it's suggesting mystery, and you're kind of getting into this world. And then from book 3 onwards, you kind of the eclipse is kind of the pivot point for the series, I guess, which is both darkness and then the return of light, and then enlightenment is the final one, which is actually it's hard to see on.
Yeah,
It's hard to see kind of because the detail's quite difficult. It really works. I've recently got some hardbacks done, and they're slightly bigger, and it really works on a hardback cover, which is interesting because I didn't design it for that. But now I've got those. So, they look quite good, and I was doing it. I've been doing some events recently where I've had them propped up, and that kind of really works. And the 4 of them together, I think, give a good impression of what the story.
I love the colouring.
What the series is. So that's kind of my approach.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about stock photos and get covers. They're brilliant for that. That's why they keep their costs low. Because this one here, you can't really see it, but one for the road, I've seen that elsewhere.
Yes, and that is the potential drawback with stock images is they are available. Other people can license them for use on stuff. I think the fact that I'm combining multiple images potentially means that it is less likely but there'll be kind of there'll obviously be visual cues and stuff, but there are I was thinking about this. I tried to look some up, but I'm sure there are traditionally published books that use famous paintings on the cover and that kind of thing, so it's not like it is impossible to see your thing yet. So I think you need to be aware if you're using stock images, and particularly if you're using kind of royalty free stock images that they could turn up on anything from,
I got mine from Adobe. The majority of mine are from Adobe, so I paid something like £1 each. I was on a subscription at the time, and it worked out about £1 each, and so that's fine. So there's Adobe isn't, I mean, it's a big company, but it's less likely than perhaps you've got the likes of Pixabay and Morgfile that are free. And then you've got Getty and so on. And Adobe, although it's a well-known company, I think is less known for its images. But they had what I wanted. But the fact that you paid for extras, as you say, and I'd like to think, part of my brain is going, yes, but his name is so small. And I'd like to think that maybe your name will get bigger. But then your emphasis is the title. If you had your name much bigger, it would detract from the title, wouldn't it?
Definitely. And I think I'm kind of building a brand identity that my name is part of, and hopefully if this gets bigger, then the name can get bigger as well. But I kind of feel like there's just going back to the stock image thing, I guess my take on it is yes, you could see the same image used elsewhere, but it won't be used in quite the same way on quite the same thing. It won't have your name on it. It's a bit like, finding a completely truly original idea for a plot is really hard, and there's every chance that you'll write something and then you will find something that hits a lot of the same beats because but you told your story and you did it in your voice, and your book cover is on the front of your book, and that is all an association then. And so yes, you can see you may see similar images again, but if it's if we all had budgets that would allow us to commission artists to do original artwork for all of our books, then I'm sure we would all love to do that, because it's apart from anything else, it's really cool, and it's encouraging other creative industries, and that's part of what we're all about. But we don't, I guess. I mean, I certainly don't have the budget for that.
Some of us do. We'll find out when we get to Jackie.
Generally, we're trying to find the thing that works best for us at that moment in our careers, and certainly it's worked. That's worked well for me.
But it's interesting you said about coming up with an idea and then somebody else having it. I came up with this fantastic idea, and at the time I was watching, and it wasn't anything I'd picked up from the series. I was watching a series called Medium with Patricia Arquette, where she was psychic, and she sort of helped the police solve cases. And I'd come up with this fantastic idea, really out of the box. A few episodes later, they got exactly this, and it was really so out of the box. I think nobody would ever think of that, and it was in one of those episodes. So
I wrote a novel that was basically The Matrix about 4 years before it came out.
Did you? Who was it?
Much worse. But,
right. I can't remember which author it was, but a well-known author who came up with the idea of a world virus starting in Wuhan, and that was about 3 decades before it actually happened. So, Jill, lovely to see you. We'll see you again later today. So it's lovely to see you here. Jack, I love that series. I found it very creative about how you can keep every episode fresh, despite it being basically her talking to dead people. But every episode was different. Absolutely. Yeah. Any questions in the chat? Anytime. Do feel free to drop them in the chat, as they say. Jill, lovely to see you. Tell us about your book covers and how they came about.
Right. Well, they came about kind of in a slightly odd order, because this book was the second one. I don't know if you can see. You might be able to see how I'm trying to make you see how pale this is. The text actually stands out a lot better than it does when I hold it to the camera. But how that happened was that this one was done by a hybrid publisher, and they actually asked me what I would like the cover to look like.
Okay.
So anyway, I sent them. I did a mock-up of which the typography was quite similar to this, but I made it quite, because it's a domestic thriller. I sort of had the idea of having the glass kind of shattering what looks like a perfect landscape, but I wanted it to be quite dark and moody, the landscape, because the story itself is a thriller and it's quite dark. And anyway, so they found a better picture than I'd found. I did say I haven't got the perfect picture. If you can find one of the Somerset landscape with one of the churches, or Glastonbury Tor or something, that would be great. So anyway, because they have an account and I didn't, they had access to more photos. So the lady very nicely mocked it up and sent me back a better photo. But I was sort of saying, well, it's very bright and pretty. I don't want it really bright and pretty. Could we have that darkened down so the broken glass, which you can see, stands out more, so it looks more like a thriller.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh no, we think it's really and she took it down very slightly.
Right.
But they wouldn't do it. So I kind of made, you probably can't see on this because my room's too dark, but I made it so that there was a shadow on the yellow, so it brought out the yellow more.
Right.
And actually, when you see it as a book, it doesn't look too bad, because people, if they're buying the thing, the paperback, they tend to read the back and it's obvious. But it doesn't stand out very well on Amazon. And so unfortunately, if I'd have realised at the time quite what the publisher was doing, I might have pushed harder, because it wasn't very expensive to have it done. And they said I was just contributing to the costs of it, and it was only when I found out later what they were paying their staff that I realised, or roughly, that I realised that I was contributing most of it. And so, I mean, they were decent. They did a decent job, but I could have pushed harder, I think, to have the cover that I wanted. But I don't know, if that's kind of a thing that anyone else can take from that if they're in a similar situation. But anyway, so as a result of that, so I self-published a second edition of the first book, because it was about the same people. You probably can't see this very well, but I particularly wanted a picture of a wrecked yacht, and I think that was the only picture, sort of pre-moody picture of a wrecked yacht on the internet. I looked very hard for it, but all the others were like fishing boats and stuff and tankers. But anyway, so I wanted the typography to match Avalon Sky, which follows that, follows the same people as were in that story. And so I did that one. But as I say, I'm not an illustrator. I've only done it by picking out photos myself from the internet, and the publisher actually did the same. And the broken glass was not an illustration. It was, again, a picture of broken glass that you could make transparent on the internet. And it is relevant to the story. So, I mean, the only thing is, I don't know whether I've got any right to say to the publisher, when I bring the next book out myself, I won't go back to that publisher again. So I've got more control. So I've already done the cover of my next one. But I don't know whether I can go back to them and say, when, now will you darken this and reissue it? Right. I don't know. I don't know how willing I are to do that.
Probably. Are you fixed into a certain term with them? A certain length of contract?
Sorry, you broke up.
Are you fixed in? Jack's asked you to hold the covers up.
Hold them. I can, but it doesn't really work that well because it's too dark. That's
fine. We can see them. Yeah, and the other one. Can you do both?
The typography does stand out better than it does when I hold it up like this, to be fair.
Right.
I don't know if I can make it. No, I can't really make it so that you can see.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's really
she said
the paleness of it. I don't think works very well on Amazon.
No. Yeah, I think if you can either get
that's a cautionary tale in some ways.
Yes. Well, I'm going to move on to Denise. I normally go to Jackie because also there's the question: do you have photos or do you have illustrations? But Denise, like you, Jill, has gone from we're almost halfway already. Has gone from having a publisher to self-publishing, and your covers are quite similar, Denise, with your publisher. I love your early covers. I love your later covers because they're very, dare I say, Richard Osman-esque.
Yes.
Which, as I'm saying as a compliment, because there has now been a sort of shift to simpler covers. So have you got examples of your early and later? I mean, I've thrown you in because I think you were coming in as a chat room. Have you got covers you can show us if you're one of your early ones and one of your later ones? Okay.
Well, yeah, I've published 20-something books and they're in different genres. And I started self-publishing, actually, local history. So I used a professional designer for this one. It shows a spy with a World War II radio transmitter sitting in the woods. That's actually my daughter. She posed for it, wearing her grand's 1940s clothes and real 1940s headphones and transmitter that we got.
Yeah.
And I just liked the way she did it, with this ripped back effect and everything. But then I went on to write a series of espionage thrillers, and I wrote the first few, self-published them, and my nephew, who's a graphic designer, was doing the covers. But then I got contracted to Spellbound Books, and they came up with
I love that.
their sort of view. But the interesting thing was, I always my understanding was that unless you were a really famous writer, you put your name at the bottom. But when they came out with the design, which I actually quite like, this one's set in Moscow, so it's got the lovely famous, I forgot what it's called now.
Red.
But basically, and basically they put my name at the top, and I didn't think very much of it. But I then went on to write my cozy crime series, and there is a bit of a convention with cozy crime, not necessarily rules, but definitely conventions, that you don't have dead bodies or shattered glass or any of those exciting things you'd get in a thriller. They tend to be more hand-drawn things, so they'll attract in old ladies like me who like to read cozy crime. So I started doing my own covers, and I used a Canva template which I can change for each book. And it's what surprised me was I was selling all of my books, the local history and the thrillers and also the cozy crime, at a local festival. And a chap came up and he said, "Have you got any of Denise Beddows' books?" He obviously didn't know me. And I said, "Well, I have, yes, as a matter of fact." And he said, "Oh, my wife said, don't come home without the latest Denise Beddows book." So I said, "Well, look for the ones with her name on the top."
Right.
So that was the first one in the series. And then I used the same template again for the second one. So you can see it's a stylized thing. With Who Killed Emerald Isaacson, I just have the usual chalk outline of a body and a blood stain that's not red, so don't upset anybody. And then I came up with this one, which is Murder at the Festival, and it's meant to be a spotlight, and you could just about see the figure of the gunman there. And then the latest one.
See, I love while you're looking for that. I was going to say I love the fact that you've got in that corner you've got book 1, book 2, so it's really clear. I have a little. It's not on this one, but I have a little #1, #2, 6. I think I'm up to. Have them in the corner.
Well, sorry, the one I picked up is the usual not for sale. Sorry about that. It's the author copy, but right. Again, it's the same design, and it's called the Three Church Mystery. So I've got a little Canva give you all these different symbols. They pick them from all over the internet. It's absolutely free, and you put the little symbol in. Here's for a church, and let's just say book 3. So I've actually, this probably sounds totally daft, but because I had an idea for the series, I have written 13 book blurbs. I know what all 13 books will be about, although I've only published 3. And I've actually designed 13 covers. So if I live that long, we'll get the whole series.
Oh, well, we want you here forever, Denise. You're one of the unofficial committee. I mean, Self Pub Fest is me, but Denise, Dave Sivers and Donna Morfitt are my sounding boards. So I go to there. We have a little group on Messenger. And what do you think of this? And Jackie, who uses Mibble Art. I'm not sure whether Phil has. Oh yes, that's fine. Muted. I don't know whether you self-muted, but I have because the chat. I have the option to ask to unmute. So I've just. Jackie, yes, you use Mibble Art, which is a division of Get Covers in Ukraine. I get their newsletters, which go into a folder at the moment for when I want to redesign any new covers. So tell us about your process with them.
Yes, I mean, I'm a little different from the others on the panel in that I write non-fiction. I write travel books about my adventures. I've basically been on the road traveling for about 10 years now. At the moment, I'm at large in a large truck that weighs gross 26.5 tons, and I travel with 4 dogs. So I've gone
and
because
a husband.
What I write tends.
And a husband.
Oh yes, sorry, forgetting him. I shouldn't forget him. He's outside being very quiet, keeping the 4 dogs silent, because I think they joined in my last panel a little bit. They had a mad laugh.
We like dogs.
But yeah, oh, we love dogs, yes. But no, because my books tend to be like more on the kind of humorous travel memoir style or side of things. I tend to go for you know, an illustrated cover. So this is my latest book, which is called From B to A, Britain to Albania, and because now after this is my 9th book, and after all this time, the truck here, which we call the Beast, and the 4 dogs are a very sort of crucial part. They play quite a big part as characters in themselves in my writing. I did want them to be you know, like a very sort of prominent part of the book cover. So I mean, my book covers are a lot busier than everybody else's book covers, but I, you know, sort of feel that they are appropriate to the genre, which I think is quite important. You know, that I think if you looked at everybody's book covers here, you would immediately be able to see what genre they were writing in. Yeah. I mean, I can't, you know, sort of emphasize enough that you know, your book cover is your first advertisement for the book, and people really do judge books by their covers. So it's important to have it specific to the genre, which comes down to both the design, the fonts you use, and so on and so forth. I mean, I have absolutely zero graphic design skill, and I also don't have any useful relatives with any graphic design skills. So I did go right from the outset. I've gone for professional cover design, partly because I wouldn't have known where to start. I'm self-published, and I do like the fact that I have full control over it. I mean, as the other lady was saying, you know, she's not happy with one of her covers, but if I'm not happy with one of my covers, I can change it at will. And in fact, I did produce a second edition of Building the Beast, which was the book that I wrote about actually buying a 26-ton truck blind off the internet and then converting it into a camper van when it's your first ever DIY camper van conversion. I did actually get the initial cover done for this by 100 Covers, who are an excellent company who will do, I got a special offer and I got both a paperback and an e-cover for $100. That's why they're called 100 Covers. Usually they charge you $100 for the ebook and $100 for the paperback, but if you get a special offer you get both. The problem with them is that they do use stock images, and we ran into an issue with the second book whereby they couldn't really illustrate the truck, which, as I say, I wanted to be like a very large part of the cover. So they're very, you know, they gave me a few ideas and they were just wonderful because they refunded me in total, which I didn't expect when they couldn't sort of fulfill what I wanted. But yeah, I went on then to find another designer who could actually illustrate so that I could have the dogs and the truck on there. So yeah, I was completely at liberty as an independently published author to do that. So yeah, so these are the covers that I've gone with, so a slightly different style from everybody else.
Well, Jack, I mean, you just said it, and Jack in the chat about Denise's the murder, the latest series. Very plain, very clear, exactly what it says on the tin. So you do,
absolutely,
they are what they say on the tin. And I love the fact that Denise and Jill have gone from Denise has gone self-published, traditionally published, self-published again. And Jack again in the chat says, love the control of being self-published. Our 4 o'clock session this afternoon is on marketing, because I think almost without exception, the thing that most people find difficult is the marketing. You know, I say the writing is the easy part. It's not easy, but once it's up there, how do you get people to find out about it? Elizabeth in the chat, who we'll be seeing at 1 o'clock and 2:30 for What Else Do You Need, and then publishing. It said in the chat, I've designed forwards for my author foundation series and my short stories collection, both of which I designed myself. I use a professional designer for my novels. So we can talk about that a little bit later. David, saving possibly the most prolific until last. You write almost every genre going. And I like the fact actually that Denise, you had a proof copy, because that leads me nicely on to David's cover. We did see this earlier on in editing. The fact that you're currently editing one of your books that you got from Amazon as a proof copy, and you wanted to check that the front cover was how you wanted it. However,
yes, I've done a series. The Daughters of Grain fantasy series. So starts with Jackdaw's Choice, goes to the Crow's Law, and then I just do The Raven's Way, which is the 3rd and final copy. And in the background here, there's a little volcano element, which I wanted to see whether that worked. And of course, they put the proof banner right across it, so I can't see it at all. Incredibly irritating, because I need to know whether it works or not. So the next book I'm doing, the proof copy will have on the back that bit of the cover, but down here, so I can see that it works or not.
No, carry on.
Oh, the thing about covers is you need ones that tell people what the genre is, got to fit in with the genre and stand out. And that contradiction is the tricky part of it. So you do, fancy covers, but I've got science fiction series, thrillers. So again, that's very different from that, because you're trying to tell people
your name's at the bottom.
My name's always at the bottom. I've been listening to people saying I should put it at the top.
Yeah.
In this session, I'm thinking, maybe I should do that.
But it's really interesting when Ryan said about because you've got icon, I don't know if they call it motifs in the middle, as Denise has, as most of us have, something in the middle that I think people do get drawn to the middle first, and then because Ryan, you've got your title is very large.
Yeah.
So that actually drew me in before I saw your name. So although your name is at the top, I went from the man on the railway track to the title, because it's so big, to your name at the top.
That's science. That's pure science. Like I say, I have a picture that I don't know where I got it from now. And it shows you will look at this first, you will see this second, then you will look at this, you will look at this last.
Right.
And without exception, everybody I've given it to does that.
Right.
So I've used that as the model for how I put the cover together.
Yeah. Well, David, you've got so many different styles of genres. And have you've been very conscious
I've
of
got that's my adventure series.
Right. Is that fantasy adventure?
Yes.
Okay.
It's got a little bit of SF or fantasy in it. Yeah. And here's my murder mystery one. Cozy mystery.
Yeah. So that fits in.
I've got red blood. You were saying don't put red blood on it, but yeah. So that's kind of the range. And I've used artists, graphic designers. I've done some myself. I've even done a cover for somebody else. So that's a cover that I did for David Muir.
Okay.
It's a story about this person who's his grandfather who was captured.
I was going to say that looks a little non-fiction.
Yeah. No, this is fiction.
It is.
I would
just
say,
inspired
based
by
on fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, Battle and Loose. It is here.
Okay.
So, I guess you would call that a stock image and his own photograph of his grandfather.
Okay. Have you got the one handy? I can't remember the name. Forgive me. Where you've got people running, like a mob scene. You've got people running.
No, it's downstairs.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
Sorry.
And that's quite vivid because it's. I think it's got a white background with all these people running at you. How did you find your illustrators? The people to
I go to science fiction conventions, so I bumped into the first illustrator that I've used there and said, would you do me a cover or do me a picture for a cover? Because then I like in Photoshop being able to have control over everything myself. And then just got in touch with people in random directions. I mean, if there's a cover you like, ask the writer in the self-publishing world. Certainly, you could ask the writer and say, well, where did you get the cover from? And they'll say, this person, and you can go, oh right, I'll get in touch with them.
Yeah.
And because I'm in so many different genres, I've ended up with so many different artists that I've used. Because an artist may be great at thrillers but less good at fantasy, and vice versa.
Well, exactly as Elizabeth has said, she has somebody to do her novels, and she does everything else herself. Do you have any illustrations within your books, David?
Yes, I do. Let me see if I can find it.
Does anybody else, well, David's looking, does anybody else have illustrations within? I was mentioning earlier on about the fact that I've just published a book for a friend, and his book is set on a ship, and I use Atticus. So this is another thing which Denise and I use Canva. I don't know if anybody else uses Canva for the covers.
Yes,
I use Atticus. Oh yes.
I've got the hero finds these little index cards with things typed on them.
Right.
So I popped little illustrations in of the index cards and stuck, some elements on them to make them slightly different.
And which because most of us use Word, Brian uses Scrivener. What do you use to create your? Do you use Word?
I use Word for the interiors. Maps, of course. I've got maps in these. Yeah. Every fantasy book has to have a map.
Right.
Maps.
Yeah. So you use Word,
I use
Word for creating,
for laying stuff out. Yeah, and Photoshop for making images.
Okay.
So those index cards, for example, I got an index card, I scanned it, I then started to put tea stains on.
Right.
Yeah, and I tend to have all of my covers as Photoshop files for me because I like to be able to change the back blurb and whatever.
Right.
Whenever.
Yeah, I use.
I do everything in a program called GIMP.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the other day.
Big screen behind me and do it on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, GIMP is the free version. Yeah. It's Photoshop effectively, but it's free to use. I happened to pay for Photoshop yonks ago, so that's why I use that.
Right. Oh, that's handy. See, I looked at using Photoshop, but I think it's subscription now.
Yes.
Same with Adobe Pro. There's a free version of picture editing, and you have, if you want to do anything, alter PDFs, you have to pay for it. Phil, what software do you use? Do you use one for?
So I write in Scrivener, but then I export out that I actually do the interior book formatting in Word.
Okay.
Because I found a very good guide to how to lay your books out with Word. I don't tend to use any imagery in there, so Word works very well for me. And Word's a bit fiddly You have to keep an eye on a lot of things, but you can get a very good result. So that works for me. In terms of the covers, so for things like being able to update blurbs and stuff, yeah, I actually use Affinity, which is now free because it got bought by Canva. And I think it's now free, but I paid for it years ago, so I have a paid copy, but it, it's I'm still annoyed about it, but it's fine. So yeah, that for my image files, I use that, and but I have also used Atticus for ebook formatting because I've found that whilst if you're putting your ebooks onto Kindle onto Amazon, then Kindle Create works perfectly well. If you then even if you export as EPUBs, some of the formatting can go awry if you then put that on other platforms, whereas Atticus allows you to do ebooks quite easily from those same files, and gives you a better, more controlled output. It was when I took something that when I first started to go wide with my ebooks, and I uploaded something, and then I saw it, and like the italics, kind of the size of the fonts all went weird at various points. So, oh, that's horrible. And then apparently that's a thing with Kindle Create. So so I got Atticus for that, and I have thought that at some point with some different books, because obviously having established that I don't use illustrations in or any images in these books, but I have thought I might play with that in the future. And I've got a horror book in mind where I'm thinking maybe some sort of grotesque kind of chapter headings might be fun.
Yeah, nice. Well, I use Word for my for writing it, but then I've only used Atticus once. I bought it quite recently, thankfully, just a lifetime fee, and bought it for this friend's book. So he was my guinea pig. And you just uploaded the Word document, and then you can edit it. So I have that and Word, because if we're making any tweaks, then I do both. And then I was saying earlier on about the fact that I like the fact that it gave you the option. If you put, I think, 3 asterisks as an ornamental break, so a scene break within a chapter, you can then have any icon, any picture you like, and you just upload the picture. So this is what you want for your ornamental break, and wherever you've got the 3 asterisks, and you can simply add them in Atticus and say, right, this is where I want the ornamental break. And now he has little boats throughout the book as his ornamental breaks, which is really sweet. And I have used Scrivener in the past. I had an editing client who only used Scrivener, so I've used Scrivener in the past, and I really liked it. But because these days most things are done on Word, so I tend to use Word for ease.
I find it quite awkward for the file creation and the formatting bit. I find it quite difficult, but I like to write it because I can have all my scenes separated out, and I can read. And you can get a quite nice little overview of what's going on, and you can put.
I've worked very hard on the compile function of Scrivener, so I have 3 compiles.
Okay.
And it just churns out the interiors. So I churn out a PDF for Amazon. I churn out Word documents for anybody that wants Word documents, and I churn out EPUBs for those that want Kindle or EPUBs. And I just spent a month concentrating on that.
Yes, I haven't managed to get it to do what I want, but I'll be honest, I lost patience with it, and I think I can do this in Word.
Yes, it is fiddly.
Yeah.
I did an art book for somebody, formatted an art book in Word. And that was really pushing Word to its absolute limit. If I was going to do that again, I would use something else.
Yeah.
Because it also, the images needed to be extended. So I had to take a copy of the image, flip it, and put it next to the other one. And really, Word likes moving pictures around when it wants to. That was really hard.
I've spent too much time in a work context getting really infuriated with Word and images and how it likes to do things. I shudder when I think about you doing a whole book.
Yeah. But you do something and the picture disappears. You've got no idea where it's got to, so you've got to undo until it comes back.
Absolutely.
I whenever I put a picture in something in a Word document, I right click and go tight. There's in the format picture. Right click and tight, and then you can just drag it wherever you like. Jack's asked to see some of the interiors that have been done with David. Yes?
Yeah, no, there's something I've remembered. An absolutely fantastic piece of advice. In settings options, there's a button you've got to click that says do not compress images.
Right.
Everybody, even if you're not putting images in your book, should find that option and click it. And every time you start a book, click that button. Because if you suddenly decide to put an image in, like your photographs say in About the Author,
right,
it will compress that file, and gradually over time, your images degrade.
Oh.
And yeah, I was co-writing something with someone, and one of the computers we're using didn't have that checkbox clicked.
right.
So it was compressing images, and we were just endlessly replacing images and shouting at each other, "Why have you ruined the images?"
Oh,
Because we didn't tick that box. So find,
oh.
do not compress images, and tick it.
Is this in Word?
Word, yeah.
Okay, so it's settings, options.
It varies depending on which word you've got.
Yeah, I use a Mac, so I have Mac for Word. I can have a look. While I'll start first, then I can have a look and see what the option is. This is a book I did. This is O. Henry that I did and formatted in Word. So I have I have a template, an A5 template. So once I've done, I create it as an ebook, and then I paste it into the A5 size, and then I tell it go into the format, which now Vellum it does it, Atticus it does it all for me. So I was doing it where everything on the left, starting page whatever it was 6, is my name. Every odd numbered page, yeah, that's right. Every odd numbered page had the book title in it, and then I copied and pasted these little paw prints that magnify, paw print with a magnifying glass, so it fits in with her and that, because it's a mystery. So Ryan, I know you use. Do you use Atticus? Yeah. So if you like to give Ryan backwards, show us your interiors and say which software, s'il vous plaît. While I answer Denise, images also need to be converted to grayscale for inclusion in Word, or there can be a great difference between black and white. Mm-hmm. So Denise, what are you? This is
the first time I actually self-published one of my history books, and it was the famous and infamous of the Chalfonson district. So I had a lot of pictures of movie stars who lived locally. And when I actually produced it and got the book back, it was awful. Some of the pictures, the dark bits were so dark you couldn't actually see the outlines. And so I asked for some advice on that, and somebody said, "Oh, you should have converted them all to grayscale initially." So I've learnt that, and I think I use GIMP for that. Just convert every photograph you're putting into grayscale, and it comes out much softer and more defined. I don't know if ever people have discovered that, but I was such a beginner, you know.
Right, I've just copied and pasted. Oops, I got a 7. In the chat. To stop, I've just Googled it in the end. I thought it'd just take too long to find it. To stop Microsoft Word from compressing your images, thank you, David. Update your settings. Go to File Options, or mine would be Word Preferences because I have a Mac. Select the Advanced tab in the sidebar. Scroll down to the Image Size and Quality section. Check the box for Do Not Compress Images in File. Under Default Resolution, choose High Fidelity, and then click OK. So thank you, Google AI, for that. We were saying earlier on, we were chatting about AI in editing, and I think we can come to the conclusion that I have a lifetime subscription to AutoCrit, which I haven't really used for decades. And so AutoCrit, Pro Writer Aid, and Grammarly are great for feedback on editing. And Jack told us, Jack is in the chat now, told us that there is a disclaimer at the top saying it doesn't replace a human person. This is just for advice. But I think suggestions are great. If it says you've got too many just this, or very well, whatever, or your pacing is a bit slow here or something. The danger is if it suggests replacement paragraphs and you use their wording in those paragraphs, then that writing, it has been created by AI. If it gives you an overview and you go and make the changes, then fair enough. Jackie, I don't have Word on Mac, but I have an advanced tab. But I don't have an advanced tab. Jack, what do you use then for creating your document? We've got 10 minutes.
This Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie can tell us, but I'm going to ask Jack as well, and she can type in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I create all my documents in Word because I find that just easier to use. And I also use Pro Writing Aid as, you know, sort of a sweep on the grammar side of things. And I then import it into Atticus. So, I mean, I publish both my ebooks and my paperbacks on Atticus, and being not terribly au fait with technology, I do find Atticus very easy to use, and also the support is excellent. You know, if I have, you know, like some problem with it, I'll usually have a response within 24 hours, and I've found them very, very good. I mean, this is the interior of Building the Beast, so I mean, Atticus has all kinds of internal styles, and it matches fonts. All of the fonts are copyright free, which is another thing that is important to remember, that even sort of free fonts on Google are not necessarily free to use for commercial use. This is one of the little copyright holes that you have to watch you don't fall into, you know, sort of as an author. I also use Canva. I mean, being a travel author, I do create maps, and this is a map of our trip that I just created using Canva. And then with Atticus, it's very easy to just import that in and do a full page image. I haven't quite got as brave as you to put. I still use the sort of 3 little asterisks as the sort of scene breaks, but one day I might feel confident.
Try a truck.
Yeah,
yes. There are websites like Pixabay and Morgfile where you can get free images and check, because quite often, certainly with Pixabay, I use that for all my stuff, that anything I don't use Canva for. But quite often there are adverts, and quite sneaky, they put them in amongst the images for Shutterstock, I think it is. Yes, I use Canva for my covers and Atticus. I don't have a physical copy of my friend's book, but it's very similar to those. What do you do, Ryan? Do you have an ending? Ryan and Jackie, and anybody else who uses Atticus, what do you do at the end of a chapter? Do you just have it blank, or do you have an asterisk?
I don't use Atticus, but at the end of my chapters it's blank. I'm a Scrivener guy.
Oh yes, yeah.
I'm an Atticus gal, and I just leave the ends of my chapters blank.
Do you?
I'm always kind of worried about the file size and so forth if you start adding images. So, you know, I've been a little bit wary of doing that. As I say, I'm not very technologically au fait. So I've just decided to sort of keep things simple for the moment. And as I get to know the software, I've formatted 3 of my own books now. But as I get a bit more au fait with the software, then I might try experimenting a little bit more.
I don't think you need to worry about file size nowadays. I mean, that little thing for do not compress images, that was put in Word when file sizes was important, because you only had a small amount of disk space. But now people have got hard disks with 1 terabyte upwards.
And I think because also the file sizes were an issue when WhisperSync, where there was another phrase that Amazon uses. So the bigger the file, the more Amazon charges you as an ebook to send anywhere.
Print costs as well in Amazon.
Minuscule. Jack Chandler in the chat is saying, if we see Ryan's again, the interior from Scrivener,
so
the interior of yours.
The way Scrivener works is that it has sections, parts that you can do. So all my front stuff is done in one particular section type, in effect. Even the cover and the image, everything is done in the software. So I physically put this in as I write the document as front pages. The text itself is the chapter text, the section text. I just write it in my preferred Courier Prime, however spaced I want it, and I do it in sections for chapters. And at the end of At the end of a paragraph, I just get the end of a paragraph. I can tell the compiler that I want it always to start the next paragraph on a recto page, so I can get it to do that automatically. And I don't care about any of this interior for all the time that I'm writing the book. I write it on the screen in Courier Prime in the sections I want. I press compile. 35 seconds later, it churns out the whole of that.
Right.
That took me a month to work out how to get those sections to work properly. But now they work like that forever.
Yeah.
And the only thing I ever do is change the margins and so on for different size books.
Right. It's funny. Jack Chandler, who's going to join us in a second, on video, because she wants to show us her bird. And says, Jack's just said, do you have any different margin? And I have released the video, Jack, so you should be able to start your video. Do you have any, do you have different margin sides for left and right margins for the odd and even sides?
Yes, you have a gutter down the middle. So it means the inside margin is always slightly bigger than the outside margin.
Yeah,
which you have to adjust. You've got to adjust that to the thickness of your book too. You need a much bigger. If you've got a great big fat book like that, you need a much bigger gutter than if you've got a thinnish book like that.
Right. Yeah. But Atticus will do that automatically.
Yes, it does.
And the same with the title page is one document. In fact, each chapter is a separate thing. So you just click, quite similar to Scrivener, just click down the left-hand side if you want to make any changes to the title. Let's see your bird, Jackie, because we've got Jack. We've only got a couple of minutes.
This is my cover. And what I've done is I've put a little bird on the side, and that is effectively my publisher's icon.
Yeah.
And then I use the exact same bird if you've got a scene break in the chapter. It just replaces the 3 asterisks, basically. That's all.
Yeah. And what do you use?
I use Atticus. For formatting, I use Atticus. But I've never got to grips or taken the time to get to grips with Scrivener Compile, which is why I'm curious to know how it works.
Okay.
I think Scrivener is amazing software. But you really there is a learning curve. It depends. If you just want to use it as a word processor, no learning curve required. It's an amazing software.
It is amazing.
But
I'd like to go back to it.
So much with it. And I haven't taken the time to learn to do that.
It is brilliant, but it cost me a month of my life. Literally a month.
I can well believe it.
Yeah, but
I can well believe it.
Yeah, if your life thereafter is made that much easier, you save. It's a bit like paying for something £1,000 for life. And then if you work it out, hopefully, like Denise, we're going to live forever. Elizabeth has said in the chat, wow, I'm going to look at Scrivener in much more detail. I use it to write, but not to compile yet.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant, but it is a time sink.
If you all bought your beer, Ryan, would you do as an online masterclass?
Sorry?
If you go on Literature and Lat on their website, then they have a series of short videos that will explain everything to you. And the videos are like 3 minutes long, 4 minutes long, really are bite size, really easy to understand. It just takes time to get used to it and set it up the way you want to. But it's great software.
On my list of things to do, I'm going to do a YouTube.
I do. Well, Ryan, David, and myself belong to New Street Authors, who are based in Birmingham, but obviously I'm not based in Birmingham. But every Thursday we have a meeting online. So do join. It's £18 a year, David?
Yes.
Yes.
But pro rata, so we're halfway through the year, so it's £9 or something.
Exactly. So New Street Authors. And is it once a month you have an expert? So he's always looking for panelists. If you're
we tend to have a guest speaker on the first Thursday of the month. We have an agenda-led meeting on the third Thursday of the month, and other times we have these skill shares where someone comes along and tells us about Scrivener. Will be a fantastic one, Ryan.
I've got that one on towards the end of July. You'll have to check with Carl. But I'm doing a Scrivener skill share.
It's a collective of independent self-publishers just to help one another. So if Phil, you should join, and then Ryan will tell you how to use Scrivener.
Yes. And we have a very active WhatsApp. Yes. And I learned to wind it down. I'm trying to keep these under an hour so they can go on TikTok. I can always chop a bit. Yes, there's a very active WhatsApp group. And I found out from Newsread authors last week that WhatsApp, you're now going, instead of phone numbers, if you register your name, you get an @ so you would then, everybody would know you by, so I am @ Morgan Bailey, and so that avoids sharing. If you want to share your phone numbers with anybody, you can do that. Anyway, I'm going to have to wind this down and download it for the next session. So thank you, everybody. It's been brilliant. Lovely to see you, Jack. Lovely to see everybody. See some of you in person in the later sessions. Otherwise, hopefully in the chat. And have a good day, Phil. I think I understand you're out with family.
Yes, I have family duties for the rest of the
have a lovely day. These are all recorded and go on YouTube anyway. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you everybody in the chat.
Bye. Lovely to meet you all.
Bye.